Welcome to the Insurance Revolutionized podcast brought to you by Success Without Sacrifice. I am your host and coach, Cheree, and here on the podcast, we are on a mission to revolutionize the way women in insurance do business. We will be interviewing women who are changing the face of insurance, as well as giving you tips and inspiration to grow your agency to new heights without sacrificing what is most important to you. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Insurance Revolutionized podcast brought to you by Success Without Sacrifice. I am your host and coach, Cheree. And today I'm coming at you with a solo episode. And we're going to be talking about a winning versus fear of losing mindset. Now, that might not make a lot of sense as you hear it right now, but I'm going to break this down. And the reason I want to talk about this is because it's very, very important for business owners for a couple reasons. One, to prevent and overcome burnout, and two, to reduce the amount of stress that you have in your body. So as business owners, as high performers, high achievers, most of us, unless we have gone through some sort of coaching or personal transformation, are living in stress. Our bodies are under stress. And I talked about this in, I'm not sure what episode number it was, but when we talked about is there a good return on investment in self-care? And we talked about stress and the cost of stress being, I think it was like a $3.8 billion industry. That the US attributes to stress-related accidents, injuries, pain, healthcare every single year. So what does that have to do with having a winning mindset versus a fear of losing mindset? So if you've been listening for long, you know my background is sports medicine. I worked with high-performing athletes for 14 years, and I have a master's degree in sports psychology. And I have always been super fascinated by psychology, by sports psychology. And even though business owners are not athletes and sports psychology might seem like it doesn't apply to you, it 100% does. And I'm going to give some examples in this episode to that are sports related, but I will bring it back to business. And I think that it just gives a really good visual and a picture, because sometimes in business it's hard to kind of grasp and understand things, but when we can visualize it, when we can think about something that we've experienced in our lives, it's easier to understand. So where does this winning versus fear of losing mindset come from? What does this mean? How does it apply to you? So just to start out with an example from the sports world, I want to give you, I just want to tell you about a story from my background. So I worked with two different volleyball teams at two different colleges. And in season, these volleyball teams would play another team, usually their rival, twice in the season. And typically, they would beat them both times in season. Both of these teams would beat their rivals both times in season, whether it was at home or it was away at their opponent's court. But when it came time to tournament time, so if you've been listening, I've talked about the ramp method. I talk about how the peak season in the ramp method is equivalent to the peak season in sports, which is the postseason tournament. So March Madness, the Super Bowl, going for the Olympic gold medal. That is the peak season. So during tournament time, once your regular season is done in sports and then tournament time comes, it's typically one and done. So if you lose a game, your season is done. If you win, you get to go on, and potentially you go on to the national championship, which then there's brackets in that, which then eventually you can get to the championship game, and the goal is to be the champion, right? Everybody wants to be the champion. Everybody wants to get the gold medal. Everybody wants the top of the top. And the same is true for us as business owners. We are achievers, right? We can set one goal, we can achieve it, and we go to another goal. And there's nothing wrong with that, because if we're not growing, we're dying. It doesn't mean that you always have to be striving for a new goal. It's okay to rest. It's okay to not grow in one year, right? But for this specific topic, I want to really keep it on mindset. And so both of these teams, they would beat their opponents in season, and then it would come to the post tournament. And a lot of times they would either end up losing in the first round, or they would win and they would go on to the next phase of the tournament. It could be usually the final tournament. Neither one of these volleyball teams ever actually made it to the championship game, which can be really hard to do, but it's not because they didn't have the skill set. It's because of where their focus was. And in season, their focus was on winning. Their focus was on beating that other team. But when it comes to postseason and it comes to tournament time, all of a sudden there's this fear of, oh my gosh, if we lose, we're done. And so their mindset shifted from being a winning mindset to this fear of losing. They were afraid of losing because if they lost, they were done. They wanted it so bad, right? The outcome that they wanted was the same. They wanted to win, but the difference was their focus was on a fear of not losing. Their focus was on not losing. When athletes, so mindset plays a huge role in our businesses. Business and sports is 80% mindset and it's 20% skill. So I'll give you one more example. March Madness, you have an athlete, you have team A and you have team B. And team A is at the free throw line. And if they make this shot, they win the game. They miss the shot, they lose the game. If you have an athlete standing at that free throw line and their focus is on what they can control, which is their body movements. Okay, so if they have gone through sports psychology is used not as much in the college level, unless you're really good Division I, definitely used at the Olympic level. And that's why Olympic athletes are able to just really hone in and tune in, because they have likely had some sort of sports psychology training. They have a sports psychologist that works with them to really help them with their mindset, because your nerves and anxiety and stress will change what you do and how you perform. So imagine being at March Madness. It's game point, athletes at the line. They can either be afraid to miss the shot or they can focus on their body movements. They can focus on lining up their feet. They can focus on getting their hands in the right position and the follow through on the ball. They cannot control the outcome of the game. They cannot control whether or not that ball goes in the net. They cannot control whether they win or lose. That's all they can control. But if they are focused on their body movements and they can tune out the noise of the heckling crowd, and they can tune out the noise, and instead of focusing on the outcome, they focus on the process, they are more likely to make that shot and win the game. But if you have an athlete that gets to that line, they are focusing on not missing the shot, they're going to miss a shot. Because guess what? They're not focused on their body movements. They're not paying attention to their body movements. Their mind is going to control the movement of their body. It's going to be a tentative shot. It's not going to be a confident shot. It's not going to be a peaceful shot. And that ball is most likely going to bounce out of that basket and they're going to lose the game because they were focused on the outcome, not the process. And we see this in business owners as well. And this is something that, especially in the insurance industry, that I have found is because the insurance industry is predictable. This is one of the reasons we enjoy working with the insurance industry. You have natural ebbs and flows of slow seasons and busy seasons, right? Your busy seasons are your high revenue seasons. That's where people are in the buying mindset. They're buying houses and they need insurance. They're buying boats and RVs and they need insurance. Or if you are health, right? They are looking for health care from November through January. That is your busy season because that is the natural flow of the industry. But what happens is in the slow seasons, what we often see is the business owners take on the stress of, oh my goodness, we don't have enough income coming in. This is a slower month. Are we going to be able to pay the bills? Are we going to be able to pay our employees? And stress starts to take over and fear starts to take over. And when fear starts to take over, it changes the way that you lead. It changes the decisions that you make. You go from making peaceful, confident decisions to making reactive, stressful decisions, right? Scrambling, scarcity. Maybe you have this like anxiety that sits in your stomach or in your neck or in your shoulders. If you feel that stress, that anxiety of finances in your slow season, it's most likely because your focus is on it is fear-based, right? Fear of not being able to pay the bills, the frustration of not having the income that you want. So then you go out and push harder to get more business. But you can't control whether or not people are in a buying mindset, right? You can't control the real estate industry. You can't force people to go out and want to be in a buying mind. It doesn't matter how many giveaways or bonuses or sales you run. If people are not in a place to buy insurance for whatever reason, they are not going to, most likely, right? It's not like it's not like having a product that goes all year long. It's think about, sunscreen and swimsuits. They have a very specific season, and that is when it's warm out. People are not buying sunscreen and swimsuits in the winter time unless they're going to Hawaii or some tropical place, right? So there's places out there that will have them available, but you can't. The majority of people are not buying sunscreen and swimsuits in the wintertime. Same goes for insurance. So how can we take this mindset and how can we take this stress and this fear of not having enough and shift that and change what the focus is on and get back into a winning mindset? And in order to do that, again, it comes back to focusing on what you can control. And what you can control in that slow season is giving your body and your team rest, really intentional rest, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Right? There are things that you can do in your slow season that you're not going to have time to do in your busy, crazy seasons. And then when we talk about the busy, crazy seasons, if you find yourself reactive and you're so exhausted because you have so much coming in that you can barely even keep up with it, so then you're trying to hire people and train them, and that just adds more chaos and stress. But if we focus on and come back to that winning mindset, if you can set your business up and create a plan for the year based off of the normal ebbs and flows of your industry and your line of insurance, then you can bring some peaceful predictability. And it doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect, right, all the time, but it allows you to be flexible and to be like, okay, that didn't work, so we're going to change that, or this is what we can expect to come, right? That's a winning mindset. A winning mindset is focusing on the things that you can control. In your busy season, the other thing that you can control is what you say yes to and what you say no to. You get to decide what goes on your calendar in life and in business. You get to make that decision. Nobody else gets to make that for you. And if other people are making it for you, right, it's probably because you're saying yes out of people pleasing, out of guilt, out of fear. Again, that all comes back to mindset and really understanding why you make the decisions that you make, or why you have that anxiety about, like, are we going to be able to pay the bills, even though you know that revenue is coming in your busy season. So it's all about coming back to what you can control and focusing on what you can control and the process, and releasing the outcome, because you can't control the outcome, right? You can set a goal and you can work towards that goal, but you're not always going to hit that goal. You can control the steps that you take to reach that goal, but you can't control when life happens and you get sick, or you get in an accident or a family member dies, like you can't control those things. You only get to control your beliefs and your actions. So I hope that just gives a little snapshot and a picture. And we talked about this in the Preventing and Overcoming Burnout episode, letting go of your fear of releasing control, right? Because a winning mindset means that you are getting really clear on what you want. You're getting clear on what you can outsource and delegate and automate based on your values and your priorities, instead of letting your circumstances make those decisions for you. So, a winning mindset versus a fear of losing. There's a difference between those two. So just stop and ask yourself, and this is something I always ask myself, whether I see a sale and I'm going to purchase something, or it's thinking about hiring, a new coach or investing in something, or really anything in life. I always just come back and ask myself, is this a peaceful decision, and am I making this decision from a place of peace, or am I making this decision from a place of fear? Because if you set your values and you know what you value, but you find yourself going back to making fear-based decisions, maybe you're not even aware of it. And a lot of times it takes somebody else to come in and to assess and to bring that out, right? We can't always see it because we're too close to it. But again, that it all comes back to mindset and limiting beliefs. And I firmly believe that if business owners could become more aware of what's happening in their bodies and where stress lives in their body and where anxiety lives and why it's there, and how to say yes based on how your body's feeling, and know when to say no based on how your body's feeling, I really believe that business owners would have a much better work-life balance. They would have a lot less stress, and they would be a lot more happier and joyful. And I can say that because I've done this work with enough women. I've done it in my own life. What I will say is it's a process and a journey. It's not a destination. It never goes away. It's not like fear is just going to disappear and you're never going to have fear about anything again, or anxiety about anything ever again. It's just recognizing it, it's allowing it to be there, and it's asking, why is it there and what can I do differently? Next time, if you are in your slow season, ask yourself, am I feeling more anxiety than normal? Am I making fear-based decisions? Am I pushing my team to hit goals because I'm afraid we're not going to have enough money come in? Or am I allowing myself and my team to rest during this season? Okay, so I hope that was helpful. Short and sweet today. We will be back with you next time with another episode. And don't forget, we have a mastermind coming up in October, our Success Without Sacrifice Mastermind. This is a combination of one-on-one coaching and a group incubator. And the reason we named it Success Without Sacrifice Mastermind is not just because of our business name, but because that is the intention of the mastermind, is to help you to achieve or maintain the success that you have, that you want, without sacrificing yourself or what is most important to you. This is a combination of one-on-one coaching and a group incubator. And the reason is because everybody's different. Everybody has a different path, a different idea of success and what that looks like. We get really into the nitty-gritty details of your business and what's working well and what's not. And we can't do that in a group program. We want women to be able to connect with other female agency owners so you can learn from one another, so you can support one another, so you can be in community with one another. Because when one of us rises, all of us rise. We're also going to have a retreat experience with this, which we'll be talking more as we have more details come up. But a retreat experience where you can come and really learn to listen to your body and to allow your body to have rest and rejuvenation, but also growth and expansion. So you can find out more information in the show notes. Again, that is coming up in October. So grab your spot now before it fills up. It is limited to only 6 women, 6 agency owners, and we will be with you next time. Thank you so much for listening to the Insurance Revolutionized podcast today. We know there is a lot on your plate, so it means the world to us that you stopped in to give us a listen. We hope you will join us each week as we dive into topics such as mindset, goal setting, productivity, self-care, and so much more. We want to inspire more women to have success without sacrificing what is most important to them, and we need your help. If this podcast has inspired you, would you do us a favor? Would you take a minute to leave us a rating and a review or share with your friends? Let's change the face of insurance for women. Until next time.